Two pretty flowers. Evening is drawing on as Jesus calls to his side three of his disciples, Peter, James, and John, and leads them across the fields and far up a rugged path to a lonely mountainside. Soon the light dies out from hill as well as valley. The sun disappears behind the western horizon, and the solitary travelers are wrapped in the darkness of night. Stepping a little aside from them, the man of sorrows pours out his supplications with strong crying and tears. He prays for strength to endure the test in behalf of humanity. He must himself gain a fresh hold of omnipotence, for only thus can he contemplate the future. His prayer is heard. While he is bowed in lowliness upon the stony ground, suddenly the heavens open. The golden gates of the city of God are thrown wide, and holy radiance descends upon the mount, enshrouding the Saviour's form. Divinity from within flashes through humanity and meets the glory coming from above. Arising from his prostrate position, Christ stands in godlike majesty. The soul agony is gone. His countenance now shines as the sun, and his garments are white as the light. The disciples, awaking, behold the flood of glory that illuminates the mount. In fear and amazement, they gaze upon the radiant form of their Master. As they become able to endure the wondrous light, they see that Jesus is not alone. Beside him are two heavenly beings in close converse with him. They are Moses, who upon Sinai had talked with God, and Elijah, to whom the high privilege was granted to but one other of the sons of Adam, never to come under the power of death. But before the crown must come the cross, not the inauguration of Christ as king, but the disease to be accomplished at Jerusalem is the subject of their conference with Jesus. Bearing the weakness of humanity and burdened with its sorrow and sin, Jesus walked alone in the midst of men. As the darkness of the coming trial pressed upon him, he was in loneliness of spirit, in a world that knew him not. Even his loved disciples, absorbed in their own doubt and sorrow and ambitious hopes, had not comprehended the mystery of his mission. He had dwelt amid love and fellowship of heaven, but in the world that he had created, he was in solitude. Now heaven had sent its messengers to Jesus, not angels, but men who had endured suffering and sorrow, and who could sympathize with the Savior in the trial of his earthly life. Moses and Elijah had been co-laborers with Christ. They had shared his longing for the salvation of men. Moses had pleaded for Israel, "Yet now, if thou wilt forgive their sin, and if not, blot me, I pray thee, out of thy book which thou hast written." Exodus 32:32. Elijah had known loneliness of spirit, as for 3 years and a half of famine he had borne the burden of the nation's hatred and its woe. Alone he had stood for God upon Mount Carmel. Alone he had fled to the desert in anguish and despair. These men, chosen above every angel around the throne, had come to commune with Jesus concerning the scenes of his suffering and to comfort him with the assurance of the sympathy of heaven. The hope of the world, the salvation of every human being, was the burden of their interview. Dear friends, it was not the mountains that he created. It was not the sun, moon, and stars that he created. It was not even the strongest man, Samson, or the wisest man, Solomon, that could strengthen Christ to endure the cross of Calvary. It was those two pretty flowers, Moses and Elijah, that strengthened Christ to die for man. They were the prettiest little flowers I'll ever know. I'll ever know.
High on top a mountain, well above the clouds veil, a patch of earth lay smitten in the snow. Two pretty flowers who were burdened in the hours of inspiring life when nothing else could grow. They were the prettiest little flowers I'll ever know. The prettiest little flowers I'll ever know. Higher than the wind soars, beyond the reach of bird calls, I found myself cradled in the snow. Two pretty flowers burdened in the hours of inspiring life when nothing else would grow. They were the prettiest little flowers I'll ever know. The prettiest little flowers I'll ever know. Prettiest little flowers I'll ever know.